Superman is a very, very simple idea. It's about a child who's sent by his biological parents from another planet who is discovered by the salt of the earth and is raised with salt of the earth ideals, traditional ideals. And he's raised by innocent, naive, good, pure people to become an innocent, naive, pure person. That is the idea of Superman. And he's given these set of choices, and he decides to use what he's got for good, when he can easily be angry and bitter and inflict pain and torture and horror on society, but he doesn't do it. As I said, Superman is a very simple idea, and deconstructing him and overcomplicating him in films, in TV, is where the problems begin. Although Smallville did give him complexities, they still kept him as someone who's a good person, raised by good people, who makes the right choices. But he's a young man in Smallville, he's learning, he also makes mistakes. That's what makes him a little bit more relatable as a young teenager. But once you try and deconstruct him is when the problems begin. There's an interesting scene in Superman Returns, quite deep. I really like it. I think Brandon Routh kills it. So he takes Lois Lane above, they're watching the Earth from space, and he said, "You wrote, the world doesn't need a savior. So why do I keep on hearing people crying out for one?" It's a great line, but also it's utterly moody and gloomy and problematic. I like where they're going with it, but ultimately the simplicity of Superman is that he does the right thing. He's got this cool gee whiz quality. He's got cool powers, right? Let's talk about Superman 78 for a brief moment, right? That film is pure simplicity, but it still has stakes and challenges, right? So on Krypton, Jor-El's challenge is to convince the elders, the Kryptonian Council, that Krypton, the climate is changing. But they feel, we understand your theory, Jor-El, but maybe Krypton is just shifting its orbit. So every time a right-wing nutjob is a climate denier on social media, I quote them and say, Krypton is just shifting its orbit. I find it hilarious, right? They don't care. It's not their problem, it's their kids' problem, so they're in denial. Exactly how the Kryptonian Council are. So because Jor-El fails to convince them, and the arguments in that scene are beautiful because they're so timely as well. Back in 1978, amazing. Tom Mankiewicz was an amazing guy and an amazing writer. But yeah, so he has to send his son to Earth, and it's very emotional. And Brando has this brilliant monologue as well. But that's the challenge that's the drama of the Kryptonian sequence. Then we go to Smallville, and we see the Kents find him. We see his challenges at Smallville High. He has a crush on Lana Lang. Lana Lang has a crush on him. But her boisterous boyfriend can see what's going on here, and he ain't having none of it. And then they beautifully, we see Clark's frustrations when he kicks the football. Brilliant. And then I remember as a kid when he's running after the train, a scene and a sequence I still think looks beautiful. People mock it on modern day VFX terms, but I think it's better than CGI. I think it looks amazing how they dragged him across and got him to run after that train. But it's a beautiful moment, and he jumps, over that train, and he goes, woohoo! But then his father catches him because he's bragging to his mates and to the other kids, and Brad, the arsehole, how'd you get here so fast? I ran. I told you he was an outlaw. Let's get out of here. So again, you see his challenges there. And it's brilliant and it's simple. And Mr. Kent Parkent goes, you feel that you can't, you need to show off about what you can do. But you can't do that. You were sent here for a reason. I don't know what reason, whatever the reason is. Then he has his heart attack and he dies. And then Clark says, which is the whole center of the piece. The whole center of the piece is this. When his father dies and he says over his grave, all those things I can do, all those powers, and I couldn't even save him. That is the arc of the Peace Boys and Girls, because later on in the movie, when Lois Lane dies and he's screaming to the heavens and you can hear Jor-El's voice, "You are forbidden to interfere in human history." He says, "Fuck you, Dad." He doesn't literally say that, but he says, my father's already died, and I could do nothing. With my abilities, I couldn't, but now I can save her. There's something I can do. I can turn the earth on its axis. I'm going to do it. I'm going to wind back time, and I'm going to bring back the woman that I love. Fuck you, Dad, right? I'm not listening to you, right? I'm not allowing one more human being to die. And this is exactly the core of what this character is. He can't accept one person dying. It's a simple movie with a simple arc, and it fucking works beautifully. So let's wind forward to James Gunn's Superman trailer in the interview between Clark, or Superman, and Lois Lane. So again, you can see him losing his temper. She's saying, "You illegally crossed the border. You illegally went to another country." But to him, he's thinking, "What are you talking about, woman? Someone was dying. People were dying. There was a war. I had to stop it. I did stop it. I did a good thing. What's the problem here?" Naivety and simplicity within his own mentality, because he was brought up by very naive, good, simple thinking folk. If I want to do good, isn't that more important, than I crossed, a border without getting a piece of paper, right? That's the point. That's why he's getting frustrated. But of course, Snyder fans have weaponized it, as they do everything. I don't think anyone's listening to them. I don't think one person has seen a post from a Snyder fan and gone, "Oh, I better not see this movie now." So this is what Gunn's trying to do. He's showing a character that's very pure, very good, very wholesome, very naive, in a world which is dark and horrible and cruel. So Lois Lane and Clark's metahuman friends want him to stop being so naive. They want him to get with the program and understand how the world works. But Clark's saying, no. He's showing determination and stubbornness. No, I won't change. This is how I feel. This is what I feel is the right thing to do. This is the core of Superman, and Gunn is very clever and very smart to do it this way. Where in Man of Steel and BVS, they try and deconstruct the character to reconstruct the character. In BVS, they deconstruct Superman and Batman so they can build them back up. The audience didn't really care about that, didn't seem to care that the idea was to take them down to build them back up again. All they could see is you're deconstructing my characters, my heroes that I grew up with. We don't want this. We just want Batman to be Batman and save people and be cool. We want Superman, to be Clark Kent and then turn into Superman. Like Man of Steel doesn't even have a shirt rip moment. We see it in Zack Snyder's Justice League near the end. But there's a Superman movie and we don't even see a shirt rip. One of my favourite moments of Superman 78 is when Lois is dangling from the helicopter. He's about to change into Superman. He's looking at these modern telephone boxes which are not built for you to go in and change into Superman. So he goes through those swing doors and it's an amazing moment. And then the guy acts all shocked and all sarky and he flies up and he saves her. It's a brilliant moment and the Williams music, comes on. Now, I'm not suggesting to repeat what Donna did. You have to do something different. And this is what Gunn is attempting to do. He's saying this is a shitty world, a cynical world, a horrible world. But this is a guy who was brought up at a time when things were a little bit more innocent. And he's kept that naivete and innocence. And he's fighting to get the world to be a little bit naive, a little bit kinder, and a little bit more naive. And that's the struggle of Superman. And that's a good thing to do. Unfortunately, modern day storytellers like to go a little bit more deeper. People like to see a little bit more depth today. So when Superman 78 was a bit more, let's say fun and pure and colourful, there are going to be deeper and darker themes in James Gunn's Superman. No, he's not just copying Man of Steel, elements of it. He's taking Easter eggs from Man of Steel, he's taking Easter eggs from BVS, maybe the Snyder Cut, but also Superman 2, Superman 78, and Smallville. He's taking them from everywhere. But Superman is a very simple character. And when you decide to have him break somebody's neck, not just kill someone, but break somebody's neck, when you write him into a no-win scenario, right, and then have him break somebody's neck, who wants that? Apart from the Snyder fans, who wants that? Who wants to take their kids to see that? What's the uplifting message here? It didn't really offend me at the time. But there's two reasons why killing Zod is dumb. We don't really want to see Superman doing that. And Zod had so much narrative potential. To kill him off is dumb in the first place. And all Goya wanted to do was be edgy and controversial, and he used my hero to do it. And now we've divided the fandom because of it. The greatest example of why I love Smallville is the episode Legion, penned by comic book icon Jeff Johns, where the Legion come to the modern day and they say, look, Brainiac has taken over, he's using Chloe Sullivan, your best friend, as a host. She has to die. Mate, she has to die. No, I will not kill my friend. I don't kill people. So Clark's fighting, like he's doing in James Gunn's Superman. He's saying, no, I'm going to stick to my principles, damn it. I'm going to be me. I'm not going to darken up for a dark, cynical world. My friend doesn't die today. There's a better way. And he teaches the Legion to find a better way to save the day, which he absolutely does. These are the core elements of Superman. And this is what Gunn is attempting to do. And I believe it's the right thing to do. It's not the world, it's not Superman who has to become more cynical and darker to accommodate a darker, more cynical world. It's the darker, cynical world that needs to accommodate the Superman way of thinking. Superman sees Earth as one world rather than like different little countries, right? He believes in compassion and charity and love. And most of us today don't. Not my problem. Why don't they go and get a job? Or something cruel or crass like that. Superman is a compassionate, charitable entity. And his values are so uplifting and so beautiful. And it's really difficult to make that kind of mentality relatable in a cynical, dark, grey area world. And I think Man of Steel and BVS made the situation worse. They said, right, Superman has to accommodate our world, right? Our world shouldn't accommodate Superman. Where Gunn's going at it the other way around, and I like that. We should be accommodating Superman. Superman shouldn't be accommodating us. We should be a kinder, more compassionate society. What the hell ever happened to us? And this is what Gunn's film is attempting to do, and I really like that aesthetic. I love that element, and I think there will be an emotional monologue by Superman by the end of the movie, and I can't wait to see that. You know, so I think Gunn said from the very beginning, this movie is about kindness, and kindness not being seen as a strange thing in a cruel world, right? But Superman is kind, compassionate, and people don't trust you when you're kind and compassionate. What's his game, eh? What's her game? They're a little bit too good to be true. This is the cynical world we live in, and this is what James Gunn's attempting to do. So no, I love Man of Steel, BVS and the Snyder Cut for entertainment purposes. But ultimately, that's not why we love Batman and Superman. You know, yes, Snyder said, well, you know, get real, man. They're in the real world. But that's the point, my friend. Superman and Batman are not in the real world. You put them in the real world to see how people would react to them. But honestly, doesn't that spoil the fantasy, the uplifting nature of these characters If you say, get real, man, they're real now.